Step into video game land. Welcome to Fine Time.
Hello, party people. It's your boy Dre once again. I almost said once again the Mix Master. I want to give myself a shitty DJ name from the 80s, Steve. Mix Master?
Mix Master? What are you mixing?
You know what I'm mixing, Kevin.
Oh, I want a sweet DJ name too now.
Okay, yeah. Well,
help me out here. I can't steal Mix from you. I want Mick, like Mick somewhere in there though.
Okay, like McMahon, DJ McMahon. That's the best I can do.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have anything better off the top. Mick Bananas doesn't like do anything. Let me think on this, and if I come up with a brainwave, I'll get back to you.
Okay, perfect. Sounds good. Anyone out there want to give us DJ names? They can.
What about Mick Kevbot?
Kevbot. McKevbot.
Does that work?
I don't know. It feels a little crunchy in the mouth, I think.
You think I can even make it to a one-hit wonder?
Oh yeah. Fucking some mix of some popular ballad, some house mix by DJ Kevbot.
See, I think I got there from Sir Mix-a-Lot. Kevbot, Mix-a-Lot.
Kevbot.
Sir Kevbot?
DJ Sir. DJ, it's like almost a double entendre. It's like a double honorific. DJ Sir Kevbot.
We're gonna have to iron this out.
Yeah, well, yeah, out there. If you could think of anything better while Steve stares at us in embarrassment, but he's gonna stop staring at us in embarrassment because he's going to talk about his game first. I insist this week.
Yeah, DJ stuff was out of my purview, but. You know, it's kind of weird. Andre was covering his Steam Deck last time, so I thought, man, I got time to blow through my backlog a bit. I'm going to pull out Dragon Quest XI, and I'm going to go through that. And then Akira Toriyama passed away a few days into that, so that's my fault. I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to do that. I really didn't fucking mean to do that.
Whoops.
But and I made a big stride in that, and I think I have a big conversation I want to have tangentially to that later, but the real thief of my time, and outside of pesky real life obligations, was Splatoon 3 Side Order. What the hell was that? Side Order is the part of the Splatoon 3 DLC pack that matters. You might recall the first part releasing over a year ago in that one direct, and we just rolled our eyes when it was just, make the city from Splatoon 1 appear in your hub. It will do nothing different. It won't even bring back the online waiting games.
I think we were all collectively like, this is the dumbest DLC of all time.
Look, they could have almost had me if they brought back Squid Jump and the other online queue loading games with them, but they didn't.
None of us even like going to the city anyway, because after playing the gameplay, going back to that 30 frames a second ass city is like, oh god, no.
So this makes up for it. It's a side story where we continue to follow Agent 8 from the second game's DLC and a beginner-friendly roguelike. There's the spire. Get your ass in the elevator. Stop off on each floor and get a thing. Get the pallet buff to go with it and your dealie and some money to spend in there. Oh, but if you eat it, there they all go. But, that's too bad. Take some of them Uber bucks to spend on some permanent toggles. But, that's not 100% cut and dry either.
Well, hold on. I have a question here. So is the gameplay like level up based and you get like a perk? Is it that type of rogue, or is it where you just find stuff, you find weapons and whatever laying around on the ground, that type?
You have to go up each time with each of the main weapons. So you're going to start off with a basic bitch loadout of main weapon, side weapon, and special. You could swap out the sides and specials with vending machines as you go up, but you got to hang on to your main the whole time, and you got to basically try and make your shit better as you go up, or with perks. You get a choice of 3 things to do on each floor of varying difficulty. Oh, okay, so I'm a hardcore Splatoon player. I'll just take the hard route all the way. Well, that's a good way to get your ass kicked if you're just starting out and you haven't given yourself any real permabuffs yet. Secondly, you might not want the perks on offer on a floor. Clearing the story requires you to play with all the weapons, and while you won't ever be offered something 100% useless to the weapon you're holding, you may get something far too situational for your current loadout. Like, if you're playing with a roller or a brush, you might not want the one that's giving out the long-ranged attack boost right that second.
So what kind of okay, so you don't have to take a perk then? You just have to so say you don't want anything, then what do you do? Just take one anyway?
You have to pick something. It's never going to do that, but it's not necessarily going to you might want to take the easy one because there's going to be something you might really need that to use on that weapon for.
What's the incentive of doing hard then, just for the perk or just to say you're a badass?
Well, there's a separate set of small bucks you can use, and they usually pile those out too. Your perks come in a set of colors, and matching those up in a row also increases your score, which gives you more of the big bucks for when you win or eat it. You will be doing a lot of eating it in this game.
This sounds a lot like football in the sense that I don't know that I would know what the hell is going on if I was watching it.
Yeah, talking about it is a lot more complicated than actually playing it. Because, you might have no faith in your skills at all, and you might want to put all of your buffs into the Pearl Drone to do the heavy drifting. Yeah, your Pearl Drone. You don't have the little salmonid guy from the 3's main game. You get a little drone that's based around Pearl from Splatoon 2. Hey, it's a DJ. I somehow tied it back into DJ talk.
Why Pearl? Because she won, quote unquote, won in Splatoon 2?
There's a storyline involving both of them.
Oh, okay. That's very exciting to hear, honestly. Genuinely. That's great.
And you will be needing the Pearl Drone to deal with Splatoon's take on the 1984 Apple ad that I like to keep bringing up on this show, because I know I keep bringing it up, but it really is the best way to describe the aesthetic. You're fighting order because we voted against it in Splatoon 2, and it manifests familiar-looking stuff and bleak-looking grays and bleak-looking rooms, and it makes you want to swing your giant dynamo roller at the giant monitor telling you to conform, and everything is going to be the same. Ah! And I'm too upset that the children that make fan animations are too young to, make that connection on its own. It's more fun to look at than I'm describing.
I mean, we barely know what that is. I don't think a child has any chance.
I feel like that ad was on forever, or at least everyone talked about it forever until we didn't.
Yeah, I think it's hit like kind of meme relevance by this point, though.
Has it really? Okay.
I mean, I've definitely seen it around on the internet within the last 6 months. I'm not saying it's super mainstream, but it's not dead to the annals of history.
Okay. Maybe I just haven't seen it as much as you guys.
So, right, Steve, you're talking about a Splatoon game you play by yourself. I don't like playing Splatoon by yourself. You're not supposed to be doing that. But there are fun goodies you could take back with you to the main game.
Said nobody ever? Who says they don't play Splatoon by themselves?
Well, no one's coming to Splatoon for the single player.
I mean, I definitely... You know what? I feel fucking lied to, by the way. Can I air my grievance in the middle of your spiel? I'm sorry. When Splatoon 2 was coming out, all I ever heard about the first one, the single player is so good. Oh, it's so good. Splatoon 2, you're going to have so much fun with it. It was fine. Almost said Octopath Expansion. Octo Expansion is way better, but the Splatoon 2 basic bitch single player is fine. I wouldn't say it was worth that kind of hype. Oh, it's so good. Splatoon 3 is worth it. That shit is fantastic. 2? Not so much.
I don't know how everyone got to that point either, besides Wii U. LOL.
Stockholm Syndrome, yeah.
Anyway, goodies you get to take back. You get replica weapons when you clear the spire with each main weapon, and if you really soak up the big outside money, you can get some fun accessories, decorations, banners, and all that stuff you get to carry over to show off to your friends, including Virtual Boy goggles. that you can strap onto your face. That's what my guy is wearing right now.
That's cute.
At least I think they're kind of funny. They're like, I like to have my characters wear glasses and like, yep, these are glasses. These count.
You like hats too, I've noticed. Can I say that about you?
I can't I can't have my characters wear hats and glasses in Splatoon 2. It's physically impossible for them.
I'm just saying in general, in character creators, a hat is very key for you.
Yeah, hats and glasses. I don't know why.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Is this really for you? If you're looking for more Splatoon 3 single player things to do or looking for some sort of roguelike-y game, this might be for you. It's a satisfying loop. I couldn't put it the fuck down. Much like how Octo Expansion's trappings made it into 3's campaign, I'm sort of hoping there's like a tower in Splatoon 4 for us to go do now, because I felt that much was worth it. I had fun, and I think Andre will probably like it. I don't know about Kevin.
I swear to God, when you put this in the notes, I really didn't think about how similar they were, but I am going to talk about the roguelike of all roguelikes, the Mystery Dungeon series, in the form of Shiren the Wanderer, the Mystery Dungeon of Serpentcoil Island. I am never saying that name again, so I'm just going to call it Shiren 6. Okay?
I mean, some more inside baseball. The notes do not like Serpentcoil at all. It so desperately wants it to be 2 words.
Oh, God. I've been taking notes for an upcoming Final Fantasy VII Rebirth show, and I keep fighting with my phone every day to say materia instead of material. It always wants to make it material. And it's like, please, iPhone, please.
Now, me and the Android keyboard understand Pokemon has an accent over the E, and whenever I type in a Pokemon's name, okay, we'll just go with that. That sounds like a Pokemon name. I won't correct you.
iOS will do that. It'll put the thing over the E in Pokemon. But yeah, the Mystery Dungeon of Serpentcoil Island. See, I said it again, even though I promised I wouldn't say it.
Oops.
But just in case anyone doesn't know, Shiren the Wanderer is the longest running series of the traditional top-down roguelikes that is considered like basically the rock of like the Mystery Dungeon series. People are probably more familiar with like Pokemon Mystery Dungeon or Chocobo or whatever have you out there.
Hi, it's me. I'm People.
Yes, you are People, and I am also People. And those are the most well-known variants, but all of this shit started with Dragon Quest, as most things do, because the first Mystery Dungeon ever was a roguelike for Super Famicom based off of Turneko, the merchant from Dragon Warrior 4, if you will, as it was called at the time. And there was a Japan-only Mystery Dungeon game involving him, a side game. And then Chunsoft after that was like, well, fuck that. We're not paying this money to Enix. How about we make our own characters and make our own Mystery Dungeon free of Dragon Quest? And then that's how Shiren the Wanderer was born. And then there was a second one for Nintendo 64. There was a third one for Wii, etc. The series has gone on. But we got the first Shiren the Wanderer via the DS port in 2008. Now, Steve, did you play this one back then? Because, Jesus Christ, all my friends group were playing this. Or like, what the fuck is this?
No, I missed out on Shiren the Wanderer 2008. I kept seeing it in the store, but money was tight back then, and I was like, I'll wait for it to drop, and it never seemed to.
Oh no, Sega wasn't printing too many of those, But yeah, we got the first one in America via the DS port, and I played the shit out of that. Fell in love from there, and as I said, this is the 6th iteration of Shiren the Wanderer. I'm going to start with the bad first, because I want to get out of the way, because this game is fucking fantastic. But I got to say this first. The graphics are terrible. Unacceptably poor. Really, really bad graphics. The textures are extremely muddy. Steve, I showed you pictures. I'll never make fun of Another Code Recollection again. Like,
I've got whatever one limited run sold a while ago. I think it was a remake of 5 that still looks pretty nice, and with the sprites and whatever. I don't know how they went from that to let's make garbage.
Yeah, I don't know what happened. Well, I do know what happened. They didn't have any money, and this is probably they just had to get the game out, and it's going to look however. But yeah, that previous Shiren game you mentioned, Shiren 5, is 2D because it was based on a DS game from 2010, and this is like, and then it came to Vita, and then it came to Switch and whatever. So it's had a long journey, but it started as 2D. I guess that's totally different, but. Steve, I don't know if you played Shiren the Wanderer for Wii, like Shiren 3, basically. That looks better than this new one for Switch, the Wii version. I swear to God, it looks better.
I didn't play it, but I've seen it because of all of this. I'm like, I don't know what happened to this game, Andre.
It's baffling. You know, when you're playing the dungeon, when you're in the top-down view and just splunking around, I guess it looks all right. But still, like, it shouldn't look this bad. And I guess the only other saving grace is that it is 60 frames a second, but like...
It better be!
Yeah, it better be, right? Look at it. It better fucking be. But there's this weird judder as you move around, so that 60 FPS feels like a lot less. It's bad, okay? I'm sorry. I had to say that up front, just because... Kevin's looking at me like,
well, is it enough that you're like focused on it the whole time you're playing, or were you able to get over it?
I was able to get over it because like I said, in the dungeons, it really doesn't look that bad. It kind of looks like a souped up PSP game, which again, still isn't great, but looks okay enough. It's the cutscenes, Kevin, and stuff when they're using those graphics for like everything. And like up close and like towns and stuff, and it looks horrendous. That's the problem, you know. I'm sure they didn't have the budget to do like CG cutscenes or whatever, right? So it just kind of has to be what it is.
Were people looking for that in Shiren the Wanderer?
What, like
a CG cutscene?
Well, probably not, right? I'm just saying that if they using the real time graphics, I guess it's the best they could do, but it's terrible. Anyway, that's the bad part. Like I said, the good part, this game is fucking incredible. You've probably heard me say on the show about other games before about difficulty when we're discussing difficulty is the fear is the fun. Because you're scared of dying, because you're scared of this or that. That's the fun part. It's the fear. And nothing does that better than a roguelike. You know, that not just the fear of dying, but like what I like to call the stench of death. I know that sounds kind of weird, but think about something like Spelunky. I don't think Steve has played Spelunky. Maybe Kevin has, probably not. But like that game, that's one of the best roguelikes of all time to me because they got it right. You're scared. You're so scared of dying. Not so much where you have to tiptoe around every little corner or whatever, but you really got to keep your wits about you about even just the tiny things or you're done. That's why Spelunky is great. That's why Spelunky 2 is not so great because they just didn't get it right in that game. It's probably one of the most disappointing sequels I played that I can think of in a while because it's too much. It's too hard. They added too much. It's too punishing, especially if you never played a game like this before. You'd turn that on and be like, this is okay. Am I missing something here? I'm kind of overplaying this. So that's what I really appreciate here about Shiren 6 is that they get that biting difficulty right. That's also, Steve, why I don't really get into the Pokemon Mystery Dungeons as much, or for a more popular example, something like Hades, because it just doesn't have that, like, to me, that I need that difficulty. You know, if it's too easy, it's just not a whole lot of fun to me. It can get a little boring for me. Hades more than Pokemon, but that's kind of how I feel about this genre. And that difficulty curve works in Shiren 6 because it's not a curve at all. It's kind of a flat line. It's tough right when you start out, and it's the same kind of tough later on. Yeah, enemies can get trickier later on, and there's more stuff they can do to mess you up or whatever. But it's really about making sure you level up appropriately as things go along. You know, there's no, you hit the ground running. There's no boring early part where it's easy. It's like, boom, you're starting. It's tough from the get-go. And I like that. And the leveling up pace is perfect. You never feel like you have to run around and grind or anything, which the game doesn't really let you do, because that's what someone might think when they first play this. Okay, I'll take it really slow. I'll just bash out all these enemies. You can't do that. Steve is shaking his head. He knows already. You can't do that because you have a hunger meter. And you will get hungry and you will collapse from hunger if you take too long. You can't just dawdle and do whatever you want. Now, that doesn't mean that you can, you really have to rush. Oh my God, I'm running out of, it's not like that. It's perfectly paced. You do have a lot of time to explore around and do what you want to do. But at some point, you got to move on because you will starve to death. You
just pick up food as you go?
Yes, you find onigiri in this game. So you get a regular onigiri, a large onigiri, a grilled onigiri. There's all sorts of there's a sumo onigiri, Kevin, that literally makes you fat, plumps up your character, and you can bash through walls for a while until your hunger goes back down to appropriate level. He even gives a little mini doskoi when you become sumo Shiren. It's great.
Point being is that you really got to keep these games moving along. You can't just hang around on floors and wait for monsters to show up and just keep whacking over and over again for them for farming.
The game warned me, and I don't know if other mystery dungeons have this mechanic. At some point, an NPC told me, hey, if you take too long on a floor, you're going to get swept away by the winds of something or other. So there is a hurry-up mechanic on top of the hunger. And I've never encountered that. I never spent that long on a floor.
Chocobo and Pokemon have done that, but you have to be there for a long time.
What happens? Do you remember? Does some asshole start chasing you, or just?
There's always a weird something's chasing you, or a black wind howls and it kills you.
In Spelunky, it's in the form of a ghost that can one-shot you. It's a really slow ghost, but it's like, okay, hurry up. It almost reminds me of the big ghosty beluga thing in Bubble Bobble when you take too long. That thing used to freak me out when I was a kid, by the way. It's kind of scary. But yeah, so you can't just dawdle because of a lot of things. Okay, and then you might think, okay, I'll just carry a bunch of onigiri. I'll just find them all and stockpile them or whatever and buy them from every shop. They can't stop me. Can't do that either, Steve, because you have limited inventory. Can't just carry as much stuff as you want.
No, sir.
Yeah, you can carry a bunch of onigiri, but you're not going to have much room for any other stuff that's going to save your fucking ass later on. Basically, what I'm trying to say is all that stuff I mentioned, plus the traps in the dungeon, spells you can cast, hidden rooms you can find, equipment, the enemy variety, it's like systems on top of systems, and they all kind of collide with each other to make really special shit happen. That's why it really works. It's not just the random layouts of the dungeon.
So speaking of the, onigiri shopping, how has shoplifting worked out for you so far?
Terrible. Absolutely terrible. There was a run that was going pretty south, and it's like, okay, I don't think I'm really going to make it past another couple floors. So I went to the shopkeeper to try to steal from him. And I did steal from him, and he got pissed. But he moves at super speed. He moves 3 or 4 tiles for every one of your one tile. And then he one-shotted me for 186 damage when I had 47 HP. I was done. He obliterated me. He pulped me like in Doom. He just turned me into goo. It's just, okay, I'm not trying that again. I don't really try stealing from shops in games like this anyway. Maybe Spelunky sometimes if I think I can get away with it. But that's it. So, people who have played other previous mystery dungeon games, like I said, Chocobo or Pokemon, might be hearing me talk about this and maybe okay, yeah, that sounds exactly what I did in those games. What makes Shiren so special? What makes this one so good? And that's a very fair question. And the best way I can say it is that Mystery Dungeon being an iterative series, like a Smash Brothers or like Steve mentioned, a Splatoon, where it doesn't really change that much every time out, right? You're just sort of refining and polishing what was already there to make a much better game. And it feels a lot different because all those small details matter a lot in games like those. And like I said, the leveling up has to be just the right pace. The hunger meter can't be too fast or make you feel too rushed, or it can't be too slow because then there's no danger. The traps have to be scary, right? But they can't do stuff to you like instant death or something because that doesn't feel fair, right? You need to have all these things feel just the right way. And I think Chunsoft's, or now Spike Chunsoft's expertise of making mystery dungeons for 30 years just really shows through in Shiren 6 here. And that's why it's so good. It might be the best mystery dungeon I've ever played in that regard.
When you say it's perfectly balanced, how beginner friendly is this? Because it sounds stressful the way you're describing it.
I would not suggest a beginner to mystery dungeon play Shiren 6. I would suggest beginners play the one that Steve mentioned before, Shiren 5. I cannot remember the name of it, but it came out December 2020 for Switch. So play the previous one that's like $20 or whatever on Switch. I would suggest beginners start there. One, it's prettier, it's 2D art, and it looks good. Number two, that game, we'll see if Steve agrees. I think that version really eases you in.
I didn't play it yet.
Oh, shit. You fucking ass. You catch up on the Shiren. I don't know why I called you a fucking ass. That seemed a little harsh,
that feels a little rude.
I'm sorry. That was.
I can only play Sony video games.
I'm hopped up on the Shiren right now. But to answer Kevin's question, yeah, I suggest beginners play the previous game. It's cheaper. It looks better. It's not as good as Shiren 6. Shiren 6 is for sickos who really love this shit. And if you really love Shiren or Mystery Dungeon in general, you will love Shiren 6. Shiren 5 is for someone like you, Kevin, who is like Mystery Dungeon curious and wants to get into it. So that would be my suggestion. I don't want to leave this without talking about the music because it was wonderful. It is wonderful, I should say. Shiren the Wanderer is based in feudal Japan, so you have that like very traditional sounding Japanese music, with the lutes and what are those Japanese drums called? I can't think of the name of it, but you have all those familiar sounds, right? But it's not just ambiance like it might be in like Ghost of Tsushima or something like that. This is like music, it's like rhythmic and it's involving and it's catchy, it keeps pace with the game is the best way I could say it. Roguelikes are one of those genres, much like a platformer or RPG, where it needs to have good music. It's just one of those genres, and this game, Shiren 6, does deliver on that. So that's good to report. But yeah, I don't have anything else to say. Probably the best mystery dungeon of all time, to reiterate. This game is incredible. I didn't even scratch the surface of the content in this game. It's not just the main dungeon you go through, which is 31 floors, by the way. And once you beat that dungeon, it opens up so much more stuff in the game. There's so much content here that I can forgive some really shitty graphics, like worse than mobile game graphics. So it's all worth it in the end. Again, Shiren 6. Okay, I'll say it one more time. The Mystery Dungeon of Serpentcoil Island. Definitely check it out if you are a Mystery Dungeon sicko. All right, we're going to take a break. We'll be back with big questions. Give us a bit. Are we going to hop in the shower this time, Kevin, or is that break too?
Let's hear one of those new sound drops to find out.
Here we go.
It's time to hit the showers. We'll be right back on Fine Time.
Oh boy, we're back. Still, just sitting back in the chair, towel wrapped around me, fresh out of the shower.
I think the shower is more invigorating with that hot drop we got.
I think so as well. I'm reinvigorated for shower time, Steve.
Shower time is shower time.
You've got to be sexier than that about shower time. You have to give us something.
It doesn't make me feel very sexy when that's the response to shower time either.
Yeah.
Oh baby, shower time is shower time.
Okay.
If we get a Patreon set up, maybe we can get some nice like blue LED lights installed in the Fine Time LLC shower or something, so Steve feels a bit more magical on break.
Yeah, instead of giving us like Chat GPT shower time answers, because that's just not what I want at all.
No one ever considers what Steve wants, huh? That's why.
Two against one, okay? There's no HR department here. You're going to have a shower with us, and you're going to like it. That's all I'm saying.
And I'm just saying, maybe buy more than one loofah. I know I've been asking for this for a while. But.
Yeah, we've been over this. We have to share the loofah. We have to. It's part of the ritual. Come on, man.
I thought that was more of a budget related item myself, but
have you seen that? Have you guys seen that picture going around lately where it's like the two toilets next to each other in the same bathroom? Like the two. Yeah. It's like, what are you going to hold hands while you take a shit or something? Like, I don't understand. This for? Yeah, I didn't get it.
Have a little group poop.
Yeah, it was weird. I'm glad it was two separate toilets though, and not just like one long toilet where you like both like, you know,
the Loveseat toilet.
Why'd you do this, Kevin?
That's the name of the show. I don't care what else we say. It's the Loveseat toilet. I don't care. All right. Maybe we should talk classy. About some big questions. Maybe. Holy shit. Okay. Professional broadcaster voice. All right. PS5 Pro. PS5 Pro has been all but confirmed. We've seen it all week, basically. Digital Foundry saw the specs themselves with their very own eyes, so they did a whole video on it and everything. And, oh man, I guess I should have taken that on Place Your Bets, huh? What a fucking dummy I am, Kevin, huh? You gave me the chance.
Probably should have, yeah. The writing was on the wall, and I set you up for the layup, and you fumbled it.
I really did. I could have been rich like a bitch, but nope. Anyway, from the looks of it, it doesn't seem to be a super substantial leap over the current PS5, which, is expected, but this makes me wonder, guys, and this is the question, how are they going to market this? Because with PS4 Pro, it was easy. Now you can have 4K. You do 4K resolution. Okay, boom. Perfect. That's the perfect marketable thing. 4K. New 3DS. They push the hardware. Here's some games you could only play in here. Hey, you want to play like Xenoblade on the go? Here, you can do it on this. Those were big selling points. Yeah, there wasn't that many.
Even just not having the 3D be garbage.
Right. Yeah, that too. Even though there wasn't that many exclusively, you have to have a new 3DS to do this. It was some stuff, and the other stuff was upgraded enough where it's like, okay, I see the point. Guys, I don't know what they're going to do for PS5 Pro here. I really don't know what they can do. Kevin, is there anything you think they can do to make the general public stand up and notice?
I think that is a great, intriguing question, and I don't have an answer because I don't think at this point they can't just say it's better. It's got more teraflops. It's not going to cut it, and I don't think that I don't think there's really a market that's been sitting waiting for a mid-gen refresh. If people were interested in PS5, they've already got one. And I think it's a different climate than when the PS4 Pro came out. So I really don't see this setting the world on fire. It will be interesting just to see how they even attempt to market it, because I don't know who's really looking for this at this point.
Yeah, guys, I don't really know either, because unless they finally made that wood grain one I've been asking for that whole time. No, I'm just kidding. But not really.
I'm getting you that sticker for your fucking birthday now. You're getting the decal for the PS5. I don't care what you say.
But honestly, I think the only way you can make the general public notice, which is what you're asking me here, is if you got rid of the base PS5 and made the PS5 Pro the only PlayStation 5 you're selling. And I don't know how you'd make that work. But I honestly see that being the only way you're going to make everybody notice.
You can do that, and I think that's what they did with PS4, because at some point they discontinued that launch model that I had, and then they had PS4 Slim and PS4 Pro. They didn't have the original PS4 anymore, and I think they already kind of have a PS5 Slim, right? Or isn't that a thing?
Mm-hmm.
So, I don't really know. Maybe they can just discontinue the current PS5, I guess, if they already haven't done so.
Yeah, but what about all the ones sitting in stores?
Well, they can sell through that stock, but after that, I'm sure they can just send out, I don't know. It's kind of like how okay, we're not making any more Wii U's, So you can just have them on the shelf and have your display, but as soon as they're bought, that's it. We're not sending out any more. I mean, it could be kind of like one of those things, I guess.
It would be interesting too, and I'm not saying I think this is remotely feasible, but it's also hard to save just as far as like component cost. When they were really ramping up production and all of the impacts that COVID had, if it was feasible to launch a PS4 Pro that wasn't a massive upgrade at the same price as the base PS4, and then drop the slim model down like $70, and again, I'm not saying I think that's something that's going to happen, but that would be a way to definitely move units. That would have people where they were moderately interested and hadn't sprung for a PS5 to go and spend the same price and get the more powerful model at this point. Again, probably not feasible, but that's something I think could actually move units.
Yeah, but the thing is, they like raised the price a couple years ago, right? I don't know if it went back down, but like that was concerning. See, we used to have that, right? We could always count on like, okay, at some point it's going to take a price cut, and a lot of people would buy in at that first price cut. I know a lot of people, when the PS4 went from 400 to 300, it's like, oh, there you go. That's a magic price point for a lot of people. Yeah, I hope they can do that again.
I think when they did the price bump, that was just a lot of like manufacturing and specifically shipping logistics issues that were kind of driving that. And I don't know, I guess, depending on what they're buying from where, if that market has adjusted enough to maybe justify doing something comparable to a price drop.
Yeah, I will have to see. Okay. What are we still at? What is it? $500? What would be appropriate? I feel like 450 is not moving the needle, right? It would have to be 400. It would have to be $100 price drop. I don't think anyone's being like, oh yeah, it's 500, but if it drops to 450, yeah, it's got to be 400.
Okay, but if they said that the PS5 Slim is 430 and the new upgraded PS5 is 500, does that get people out to buy that then?
No, maybe. I feel like the magic price point is 400. I don't know why. It could be wrong. But people, you're right in the sense that like people will see the cheaper thing and be like, oh yeah, there's that. Right? Now, obviously, we're not going to get to like Xbox Series S territory of cheap or something like that. That's like the only advantage Microsoft has on that front, right? It's not going to be that cheap. But I think it can't go lower than 400. And if I'm sticking with my theory that Switch 2 will be $400, I absolutely do think it will be, then it makes sense for something like a PS5 Slim to be 400 as well.
There's got to be some hesitancy after the PlayStation 5 VR to overprice something and have it just sit on shelves after dumping all that R&D into it.
Did you see, by the way, like they're stopping the manufacturer? They're not making anymore right now because they're not selling. So they're like temporarily halting like the assembly line of it. It's like, oh boy, okay. I mean,
no one wanted to spend a whole other console's worth of money to get this peripheral. Geez, who could have saw that coming?
See, I still don't think it's the money. I really do think it's the software. I think if it had compelling software, yeah, it wouldn't sell a whole ton of copies, but people would buy that thing. I really don't think it's about the price, but I could be wrong.
It sure doesn't seem like they've supported it like they did the VR on PS4, and not saying that they like supported the fuck out of that thing, but they made it known that it was still a thing. I feel like we never hear about PS5 VR.
No, not at all. Not since it came out. Even when it did come out, it's just like, oh, here it is, I guess.
Yeah.
And the only
there's the Horizon VR game, and
yeah, that's the only coverage I saw. I saw Digital Foundry, like John Linneman played the Horizon VR game and talked about it and covered another couple other things. And that's literally all I've seen. What was that, a year ago? Came out a year ago.
I feel like they try to cram in here's what's coming to VR and the state of plays. And then that's when I tune out for a few minutes because it's all...
everyone does.
Because it's all, here's a sword, here's a fist. Okay, that's great. That's all you can come up with.
Remember early in the Switch era where Nintendo was still hedging their bets with 3DS? So like the 2017 and 18 Direct still had, here's some 3DS games, and everyone just tune out. And then it's like, okay, here's Switch. Okay, next thing I wanted to bring up, and I've been wanting to bring this up for a while, but now that the game is out, I think it's much more appropriate to talk about it. So I'm just going to read this PC Gamer headline, guys, and then we can go from there. Dragon's Dogma 2 director didn't want his game to rely on fast travel. Quote, travel is boring? That's not true. It's only an issue because your game is boring. End quote. Ooh, baby, shots fired at, I don't know, Starfield. I don't know why I said shots fired. I know he didn't name any name. I just wanted to be salacious. But okay, let's just talk about that, and we can take that wherever we want. Steve, what do you think about that? Is that true? It's fast travel is only an issue because your game is boring.
I'm seeing where the Dragon's Dogma 2 people are coming from. There's a big chunk of the reason why I'm still mucking around Tears of the Kingdom is because I very, very rarely fast travel in the game. I just can't help myself. I walk or make a big machine and drive myself everywhere. But no, in the end, you should have fast travel. But even so, if we spent literally years building a huge ass world, it should be fun to look through and do stuff. I get it.
Yeah, and I don't think he was saying that Dragon's Dogma 2 didn't have fast travel. Not that you said that either. I just think he meant like to rely on it to be the main mode of transportation around. Well, you can just fast travel back there. That type of shit, Kevin.
Yeah, I totally can get behind that as a concept. I became acutely aware of this when I was playing Skyrim because I spent a lot of time thinking about. I would spend literally 20 times longer, probably much more than that. I'd travel across half that map to get to somewhere where I had the option to fast travel because to me that was the game. That was I was getting it wasn't a task I had to do, but that was like the meat and potatoes of that game was just traversing that world and stumbling across cool shit. So I think it's pretty specific to how the open world game is structured as well. You think about something like Final Fantasy 16, which is really, I mean, something that very much not an open world game, and something like that, you would never want to have to travel back and forth through that game. It needs fast travel. So I think in a situation like that, it's limited in scope by design, and that's totally fine too. But I think just having an awareness of how you want to implement fast travel and what value it has is a good thing to think about during development.
I agree for the most part with what you just said, but then there are those like contingent of folks who think every game should have like fast travel. They think they should be able to go wherever they want. That was complained about so much about Jedi Fallen Order, and I was shocked to hear that. Because I've never once while playing that game, oh man, I really need to fast travel here or there. Like I never thought that playing that entire game. And of course they made that a huge selling point of Jedi Survivor. Okay, you can fast travel now, whoop-de-doo. And I never thought Fallen Order needed it. So I wonder if, basically are we the ones too much on the other side? Or basically, can you even speculate why people feel that way? Because I never felt that way.
I think I get that perspective as well, and I agree with the Dragon's Dogma 2 developer and what they've said, but I can also certainly understand the value in having that fast travel. And there's definitely been times where I'm playing a game where I could get a lot more meat off the bone, but it's just, I've made a decision that this is something I just want to like mainline and burn through. Miles Morales was a really good example of that. There's no like quality about that game that makes me want to do that. I think just how I was feeling about that game, I just thought I want to, burn through the single player of this. And I had a great time with it. And yeah, I definitely didn't spend a whole pile of time in that game, like looking in every nook and cranny and manually traveling everywhere. So I think it's good to have the option there if you feel the need to be pragmatic about how much time you're spending on something.
I really do feel like if your game is not fun to traverse, then it really isn't that fun. It should be a convenience, fast travel, and not a crutch. The only times I really fast travel is in Fallout, for instance, is like I just get done with a dungeon, quote unquote dungeon, and I have all this shit on me and I can barely carry it, and I really need to get back to town and sell off. You know what I mean? Because like I mean, yeah, I could walk back there, especially if you're over encumbered. It's like I really don't want to drop any of this shit. I've got to walk it back to town. Okay, fine. But again, that's part of the game, right? That traversal. If a game doesn't have any reason for you to do stuff like that, then maybe it shouldn't be structured the way it is. So I largely do agree with the Dragon's Dogma 2 people. And by the way, I am not a Dragon's Dogma fan. I played the first one. I think Steve has as well somewhat. And I'm like, no. I think this game sucks. I can't even believe it has fans. So I am not interested in Dragon's Dogma 2 at all. But I really like that he was willing to talk that shit, as you will.
I have a question for you, Kevin. Do you think you'd been able to stomach Gollum if it had fast travel?
Nah. I mean, if I could have, like, you know what? When I bitched about getting set back like 45 fucking minutes from the way it loads, if I could have loaded back to where I got set back, I probably would have been able to put a bit more time into it. I'm not saying I would have finished it, but it could have had some more legs then. I wonder if framing this conversation around fast travel is almost the wrong way to put it, because to me, I think more the sentiment that they're trying to get at is that overall games probably should not really have strong peaks and valleys. I've talked before about this like concept of like, you know, like eat your fruits and vegetables game design, you know, because it's good for you and it'll like build your personal character or something, where they make you do something you don't necessarily want to do. And I don't think I can think of a single situation where I would consider a mechanic or the way something is implemented where I would consider it in that, like, you know, eat your peas and carrots sense to be good. I think everything should always be fun. So whether it's fast travel or just like the general gameplay loop that you're playing, if you can look at it objectively and say there are valleys within this, then that's probably just part of a greater problem with how that game was fundamentally designed. So, you know, not specific to fast travel.
Yeah, I agree. And that's the thing about Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, is that, you know, I played 100 hours of that game. 97 of those 100 hours were incredible to me. I love doing almost everything in that game that I did do. I didn't do every single thing that there is to do, but the stuff I did do, which is pretty much a lot of it, was great. So it's like, I get it, for a game with that much content and gonna be that long, it's a little bit impossible for everything to be good, but you just have to have a really high batting average, and Final Fantasy VII Rebirth does. So it's, again, you're right, it's not even about the fast travel, it's making those things in the world super worth it. And it does. That was one of my criticisms, if you remember, of Tears of the Kingdom, both of you, is that like, okay, yeah, I can clear out this enclave of moblins, and what do I fucking get? Some stupid chest with like 5 arrows in it. I have no idea why I would ever fuck with them. And so I didn't, you know, and that's one of my main criticisms of that game. The game is still incredible, don't get me wrong, but like there's no real reward for doing stuff like that. In Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, there is. And that to me, yeah, that kind of ties into fast travel now that you put it that way.
I mean, even in that case, and yeah, then I guess, you know, for you, that's definitely a legitimate point. To me, you know, just spending the time to go and do that, to clear out that encampment, is maybe just the reward itself, because I never had any time with that game where I felt like I was like spending it doing something I didn't want to do.
Mm-hmm. That's it too. Again, about Rebirth, it's like, yeah, there's a lot of things to do. You really don't have to. It's pretty much all of it's optional. You do exactly what you want to do. If you just want to play story, you can do exactly that too. The game lets you. So it's really great in that regard. Whereas, like, you know how some open world games are, where it's like, you can do whatever you want to do. Okay, but you really can't, because you have to do this and that. Yeah, it says it's a side quest, but you really should do it. You know what I mean? Because if you don't, you're going to be in a world of hurt. I like when games really, I think Steve just got done playing Ghostwire Tokyo. And that's kind of a open worldy kind of design. But you really don't have to. I just critical path the game, Steve. I just went from story point to story point and beat the game. That's all you really got to do.
Because I was on a time limit to finish it before it got removed from Royale with Cheese, after a while I was kind of not doing a lot of the side things too, unless they were on my way to other main questy things, because I don't know, there was a lot of things I felt like they just kind of stapled in there just to embiggen the game.
Yeah, and I don't think it really needed it, and quite frankly, I didn't feel like I missed anything for skipping that stuff.
I do not like it when games have a mechanic that is optional, but they make you try it out. For like a lot of games, like they like to build in these, like, you know, semi-complex and, you know, fairly well thought out, like, card games in an open world game. And, you know, a lot of, because I know usually I'm probably not going to want to play that. And if I want to try it, I want to make that decision. I don't want them to be like, you need to try 2 rounds of this to progress in the mainline story to find out if you like it, and then you can choose not to play it down the road. Shit like that pisses me off.
Guess what Final Fantasy VII Rebirth has?
I know, and you know what? I've done some of that, the, like, you know, character manipulation game, or like the one where you have the pieces on the board or whatever. And you know what? I thought that was good, but you didn't have to do that. They don't make you try it.
Right. Okay. Yeah, no, the mini games, I mean, we'll talk about it when we talk about it, but Jesus Christ. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff in the game, and they built out the stuff. You know what it is too? In a AAA game nowadays, they make stuff like that, and games take so long to make nowadays. They make you play it because it's like, this is our content, bitch. You're not allowed to skip it. We spent so long making this that you have to play it. You don't have to do that shit. In
if it
Rebirth.
was that critical, then you shouldn't have put it in the game in the first place. If that's part of the mandatory content for you to get your fucking $60 worth out of it, then again, you should have revisited that game from a foundational level.
Yep. So what Kevin's saying is that he didn't play all against everybody in Wheels and Sea of Stars like Steve did.
I did not. I tried Wheels, I think, one time, and then I stopped playing it. Same with The Witcher. The Witcher, like, people fucking loved Gwent. I tried it briefly, and
people are all dicks out for Gwent. I don't forget it.
All right, I've got another question. Over the last few shows, we keep talking about these recent handheld devices, and with all the Switch 2 hype gradually building up, do you guys think that the Switch 2 faces any competition from handheld PCs or otherwise gaming devices?
It's a really good question. And let's start here. To answer the question just flatly, no, Switch does not face competition from handheld PCs. I'll just say that flatly. Because the proof is in the name, really. Handheld PCs. Switch was never marketed as a handheld. They were very careful to not do that. And it was always the console you can take with you. And yes, it has a functionality where, you know, you can use it as a handheld, but that's not how they market it. Not even really the Switch Lite, even though you could only use it as a handheld, you know, and they were very careful. After Wii U, it's like, no, we're going to make the mission of this system very clear. This is a home console with a screen, which was smart of them, right? Because it's like, if you say it's a handheld, you're expecting handheld quote unquote quality. If you say it's a home console, people wait, now I can play a real ass Mario or Zelda on the go, not like Spirit Tracks or something. I can really play Breath of the Wild wherever I want. That was the appeal. Steam Deck and, I don't know, a ROG Ally or whatever doesn't really have that. I don't think. You can just play PC games. That's great. That's totally great. But no, I feel like those aren't the same thing.
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head. I don't think there's really that much competition beyond, you know, being in the video game market together. And maybe this will sound stupid and naive, but I would probably argue the Steam Deck is more in competition with the PlayStation 5 and Series X. than it is with Nintendo, because I do think that the vast majority of people buying Nintendo systems are making that purchase because of the games that are going to be available. They're quite often people with families, people that want to be able to play Mario and Mario Kart, and they're buying it based on the software, and the portability of Switch was a massive perk. I think the games that people would be playing on the Steam Deck are likely going to be more closely aligned with what you could get on Sony or Microsoft consoles. So as far as spending power in that market, yeah, I would argue that Nintendo is pretty far from being in competition with that.
I never usually buy it when companies are like, oh, we're not in competition with whatever. You hear Nintendo say that a lot, right? Oh, we're our own thing. We're not in competition. Or you hear like the fanboys online, it's like, you notice it's always Sony versus Microsoft. It's never, hey, Nintendo is quietly running away with this thing. No, it's the Sony ponies and the Xbots, right? They're at each other's throat, right? For some reason, Nintendo was not considered in that space, and I always thought that was kind of silly. Especially, remember they tried to do that with GameCube when they were like a very distant third at some point, like especially in the very early 2000s before they caught up like a little bit after they dropped to $99, but we won't talk about that part. When everyone's like, oh, Nintendo's just like, oh, we're Nintendo. We don't really consider ourselves as Sony and Microsoft in competition. Yeah, because you're third place. You can't even place. That's why, that's why. but go ahead.
On the flip side of that, though, I mean, I think if you're going to buy a secondary console, I would say either the primary or the secondary out of the big three is going to be Nintendo, because I think the people that would, how many people do you think would go out and buy a PS5 and a Series X but not a Switch?
That I don't think that's a lot of people personally. That's okay. The way I feel, people are getting a Switch and something, Switch and PS5, Switch and Series X. I don't think people are getting a PS5 and a Series X, Steve.
Hi, it's me, people again. With my Switch and my PS5.
Remember back in the day, like 15 years ago, the Wii 60 contingent?
The Wii 60.
The Wii 60. You remember that? Get a Wii, get a 360. Fuck that PS3, that PS Triple. It was Wii 60. You guys remember that shit? Or maybe it was just my message board.
No, I remember. Yeah. I remember the marketing they spun with the. You brought up Nintendo quietly walking away with all of this, and I think that's going to be the big problem in a few years. Well, maybe sooner, who knows? Because I think the biggest competition Switch 2 will have is the Switch. It's one of the best-selling consoles of all time, and the extended life cycle it's got has the the more casual fans fairly comfortable. They're not going to really. Is there going to be another pandemic with another Animal Crossing to boost those numbers again? I think they really got a big game to talk to us, the nut jobs, and then keep it coming like they did the last time. They can't show up with new Super Mario Brothers Wonder Switch as our launch title and then do this all over again. I don't know if they can do that twice.
They're never launching with something like that. I don't even think they would launch with something like Mario Wonder for like a Switch 2. I don't even think that's good enough for them. I think Nintendo's smarter than that now. They know they got to bring it. They learned their lesson. They've learned their lesson from new Super Mario Brothers U and Nintendo Land. They learned it.
I mean, even so, there's going to be a lot of old stock and secondhand units that might look more appealing to people. Like this already has a big backlog of games. Why would I need to buy a Switch 2? And then who knows? I don't know.
That's interesting. You come from that standpoint, because to me, I just don't feel like to Nintendo fans the Switch 2 is a hard sell at all, because it's been over 7 years at this point. And as great as the Switch was for those 7 years, it is starting to feel quite dated at this point. So, they can come and say, hey, we gave you a fucking good time with a very solid library for 7 years. If you bought a Switch on day one, you definitely got your money's worth. And now we're going to give you something new. I don't know. I'd be surprised if there were too many people that, didn't want to jump on that. I think they've bought a lot of goodwill with the Switch.
Same.
I mean, I think they did too, but to make those numbers happen again, I'm just not seeing it right now.
Yeah, but I don't think they'll ever. I mean, okay, the Super Nintendo sold less than the Nintendo. That doesn't mean that like the Super Nintendo was like less thought of or a failure or something like that. It's just like, look, you're not really going to match the fucking NES. That thing was a revolution, right? So, just because the numbers may not bear it out doesn't mean that the market share or the mind share of Nintendo in the 16-bit era didn't lose any luster or anything. Yeah, there was competition from Sega for the first time, but that doesn't mean that Nintendo lost something to that. So, it just depends, I guess. I wouldn't really put all my stock in like, oh, is it really going to top the Switch? I don't think it really has to.
I think I would be very surprised to have a crystal ball and look into the future and find out that the Switch successor has sold less than 80 million units.
Yeah, me too.
And I think 80 million would still be, they would do very well with that, especially with the attach rate that they've had with Switch. People buy a lot of software.
Yeah, that's the thing that's why Nintendo's raking it in. People buy those games, whereas like someone gets a PS5 to play Harry Potter or something, and that's kind of it. They get a PS5, they need to play the new Call of Duty. Right? It's going to look, because now PS4 and like they still come on the old systems, but now they look so trash that it's like even people who don't really care about that kind of stuff even notice when they go to their PS5 friend's house and play it on there. It's like, whoa, this is so much better, right? Even they're noticing now. So it's that's how that sells. But the second point I wanted to make is that like you said something, Kevin, about like we were talking about competition, right? Oh, Nintendo's not in competition with that or that. But like, I really do not feel that Switch 2 has anything to worry about in terms of competing with like a Steam Deck or something like that. We can start with the simple fact that like Switch 2 will play Nintendo games and it will be the only place you can play them. And that is something, even in the lean years like Wii U, that is still something that means something still. And that will always mean something. And the only people who feel like that doesn't matter are those like super staunchly like anti-Nintendo because Nintendo is for kids and babies, even though I'm playing this handheld and playing like fucking weeb games on my Steam Deck, like, fuck off or whatever. Like, but yeah, outside of like those people, I really don't think they Switch 2 and the handheld PCs occupy the same mind space.
Yeah, I think the real reason why there's not going to be real direct competition is because someone like Andre was on here last week talking about the Steam Deck and how it doesn't just work. Nintendo Switch 2 will just work, and people aren't going to necessarily want to jump through hoops of, oh, am I buying this game and is it going to run on the Steam Deck? And am I going to want to hold down a button and make a keyboard appear? I know people are not going to want to deal with that kind of bullshit. I mean, I'm looking into things to get for a Game Boy Curious niece, and I know even if I had money, it wouldn't be a Steam Deck or even an Android machine. I'm getting her a Switch Lite because I know I could buy Switch Lite. I can load on the apps with really long names on them, and I can buy a Switch game, and all those things will load, and I won't get calls from my sister telling me, why isn't this loading?
It said verified.
How do you edit the text file for Geometry Wars, Steve?
Yeah, how do you do that on a Switch Lite? Tell me that.
I think I just buy Geometry Wars on the Switch eShop and we just load it up like a normal person.
Yeah, I would never. Yeah, and it's like I said during the Steam Deck thing, like, yeah, it tells you before as the game is launching, hey, this is how you bring up the keyboard. It does tell you. Right? It's aware of these things, but again, if you're not used to playing stuff like that, there's no way on God's green earth my dad will figure out how to open up that keyboard. There's just no way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's definitely there's the people that just feel like it's convenient to be able to buy something that's got like just that established, seamless UI. But I think that there's also people that there's an intimidation factor to buying any of these like, enthusiast handhelds or consoles or whatever, these enthusiast devices. And people know about that. I don't think there's anybody that goes out and grabs a Steam Deck without knowing what it is, and they just, okay, heard this is a handheld gaming thing, so I'm gonna go, spend $500 on it.
Okay, we're gonna take another break. We already took a shower. We can't do that. We can't have 2 showers in one show. We'll be back. We're gonna play a game.
You're coasting with Fine Time.
I don't have an intro for this game. Maybe we should call it it's an over-under game. So it's a 50-50 game. Should we just call it the over-under game? That sounds kind of boring. Okay, I got it. Here we go for the people. Now, it's time for Fine Time's over-under game.
You built up all that suspense for us to find out the name of the game and called it over under game anyways. Just put Fine Time in front of it. What the fuck?
Unfucking believable. Actually,
you would have been further ahead to be like, now it's time for Fine Times. Are you smarter than a 5th grader?
Actually, this is very believable. Never mind.
First of all, don't roast my name. Don't roast. Shut up, okay? Don't roast my name. First of all, okay, you guys weren't really helping me. You guys just sat there and went,
We've been robbed. Yeah, but then you stopped and you're like, wait, I've got it, and fucking built up the suspension, and then just said the same fucking thing over again after saying over under game is not that exciting.
But I played the sound. I played the sounder. Fine Times over.
I know, but you can't just say just wait, and then all I did was play the sound and added Fine Time. I don't care. I'm letting the listeners peek behind the curtain because Steve and I are constantly getting gaslit by Andre, and I'm sick of it.
Oh my god, you're telling on me. I'm just gonna keep playing the sound effect over and over until it makes it better.
So that was this week's episode of Fine Time. Don't forget to follow us on our link tree.
Okay. All right. Here's the game, everybody. Here's the game. It's an over-under game, as the name implies, as our shitty name implies. So I'm going to name a game, and I want you and Steve to tell me whether this game sold more than 3 million copies or less than 3 million copies. Over, under. Okay? That's the game. 50-50. Okay? So we're just going to go through a whole bunch of these. I have 10 on the list. We don't have to do them all. But I figured 3 million was a good barometer. I didn't want to go too high. Oh, did this sell 10 million? I mean, I guess we could do that sometime in the future. But, I felt 3 was a nice number to do this with. And, okay, couple rules. This is worldwide sales, okay? Not just North America or whatever. This is worldwide sales of the game in question.
All right.
And unless I otherwise specify, re-releases or ports of the game don't count. So, for instance, if I say Final Fantasy VI, I am only talking about Super Nintendo. I'm not talking about Final Fantasy VI Advance or Pixel Remaster or anything like that. Just Super Nintendo, if I say something like that, okay? Unless otherwise specified. Okay, let's clear the board. It's already clear because we haven't started, but we're going to clear it anyway because I want to play a sound effect. All right.
Oh, that board's extra clear.
That's very clear now. Okay.
Refreshing.
Here's our first title. Over under 3 million copies sold. ARMS. 2017 Switch fighting game by the Mario Kart team. ARMS. Early Switch title. ARMS. Did that sell more or less than 3 million copies, Steve?
More.
More?
Oh, I'm saying under for sure.
Oh, you're going under. Okay, we already have a split. First game. Okay, that's it. You got final answer? Steve over, Kevin under?
Yes.
Final answer.
Let's lock it in. ARMS has sold 2.72 million copies. Kevin gets that one right. It was not quite 3.
I thought they made it.
If you would have asked me blindly, I would have said under 2.
Really? Wow. Yeah. No, it creeped over 2 at some point. So
No, they were creeping their way to 3. And I thought Min for the win-win in Smash was going to do it, but I guess not.
Didn't creep enough for you to get a point there.
Well, it probably put it up to like 2.7, honestly. All right, let's clear. Next game. Detroit Become Human. Over or under 3 million copies, Detroit Become Human. Steve, what do you think?
This feels like a trap, but under.
Under 3 million copies, Detroit Become Human. Kevin.
I'm doing under as well on this one.
All right. Guys, okay. We're locking it in. Under, both of you?
Yeah.
It's final answer, Regis.
Thank you. Let's lock it in. Detroit Become Human has sold 5.5 million copies.
Whoa.
Good for them.
PS4.
Really?
Yeah, I was surprised to see that. You know, when I was thinking of stuff for this, I'm like, Detroit's got to be in that middle ground. No, it sold more but I thought I put it on here because it shocked me. I guess it shocked you guys too.
Maybe I should play it since I have it on the list there.
I should really play it too, and not on Steam Deck as I tried to do the show before. I should definitely try that on PS5. All right, let's clear the board. Next game. Mario Tennis Aces. Guys, Mario Tennis Aces, over or under 3 million copies, Steve? Toughie, huh? What do you think, Kevin?
Things were pretty hot.
I'm on the fence with that one too. I'm gonna say over on that one, slightly over.
Okay.
I will also say over.
All right, both of you are going over. We're going to lock it in?
Locking in.
Okay, final answer. Here we go. Mario Tennis Aces has sold 4.5 million copies, so it's definitely gone over that. I remember when, I don't know, in its first year, it sold just under 2. I think it was 1.7 or 1.8. So that's why I looked it up, and I was like, oh, it kind of went a lot past that over time. So I was glad to see that.
I don't know if I ever told you guys this or not. Matthew was, I don't know, maybe 5 when that game came out. What year was that?
2018.
18, yeah.
18. Okay, so he would have been 4 or 5 at that time, and he wanted more than anything in his whole life the plastic rackets to be able to play that game with motion controls, and we wound up fucking buying them because he wanted them so bad. So
I remember.
in the closet.
I just remember being obsessed with that game because because the rackets could break, and that was an alternate win condition, and I was just in love with the game for that.
Yeah, if you ran out of rackets, fuck off. There was a game I played. I think Steve, you remember the Shonen Jump thing, Prince of Tennis? Remember that?
Yeah, I never played it though.
Yeah, I had one of those games for DS. I imported it actually, and you could lose that way too if you broke enough rackets. Fuck off, you're you're done. All right, next game. Octopath Traveler. Octopath Traveler, Steve, over under 3 million copies.
I feel like I should know this one because I follow them across everything. Oh.
I'm not waiting for Steve. I'm throwing my hat in over.
Over? Okay.
Over, just barely.
Both of you going over. We're locking it in? Both over?
Locking it in.
Okay. Lock it in. Octopath Traveler has sold 2.16 million copies.
I should have remembered I didn't see the art celebrating 3 million because that's what they do.
I know, right? All right. Next game. Sackboy, A Big Adventure. The PS5 launch platformer game, Sackboy. Over under 3 million copies, Steve.
I'm going to say under.
Under? Okay.
Oh, that one's really hard because, it's a known property, but coming out as a launch game, obviously there wasn't that many people with PS5s at the time.
Mm-hmm.
How many people went back and actually bought that game after the fact?
Mm-hmm. That's the question. Right?
I'm going to go under.
Under? Okay, both of you under. We're going to lock that in.
No, I'm not locking it in. I'm going over. I'm changing it in. I'm going over.
Locking it in.
Stop. I said stop before it was locked.
Kevin. I don't know. We're locking it in.
I locked it over.
All right, fine. We'll let you. I don't care. This is a funny sound effect. Okay, you want over? You shouldn't have done that because Sackboy: A Big Adventure sold 1.2 million copies.
Son of a bitch. Actually, I think I was locked in when you first said locked in.
All that belly ache to be wrong.
All right. Oh man, the soundboard's getting a workout today. All right, next game. Wii Music. Over under 3 million copies. Okay, why is this so funny? Wii Music. Why is that funny?
Because it's awful.
Just the like. I don't know. There's something comical about even like entertaining whether Wii Music should have sold 3 million copies.
Oh, it definitely shouldn't have. But
I know. I just like why are we even having this discussion?
Locking it in.
Okay, he's locking it in. Over for Steve. What do you think, Kevin?
Yeah, I think it did too. I'm going over as well.
Okay.
I think there's just enough people had Wiis that just saw that and thought, oh, that might be interesting.
All right, we're going to lock him in. I don't care what you say. I'm not double checking with you. We're locking it in. I felt bad about this one because it's just under. It's 2.93 million copies.
Wow.
It did not quite get to 3 million. Just a little bit off. But hey, honestly, I'm surprised it sold that much. I was expecting something a lot closer to 2. Because it was so critically destroyed and like nobody I knew had it.
Yeah, but the Wii audience didn't care about that. They'd see the Mii's on the cover and they would have bought it.
One of the best-selling Wii games, isn't it like Carnival Games or something like that?
Yep.
Or like, yeah, so like people don't give a fuck.
Yeah, that's what I just feel like so many Wii purchases were driven off of like seeing it on the shelf at the store, not what critics had to say.
I agree. Yeah, it's all shit. Talk about an era where that box art mattered, right? All right, next game. Got a few more here.
Did you clear the board? You didn't say you cleared the board.
Okay, I'm sorry. I'm clearing the board.
The sound effect clears the board, Kevin.
I'm clearing the board.
I know, but he has to say it.
He's right now. Kevin's right. We're clearing the board. Next game right now.
Kind of fucking Mickey Mouse game is this? The contestants got to remind the host to clear the board.
Bullshit ass game. Can't even clear the goddamn board. What a bullshit game.
You had one job: clear the goddamn board.
I'm gonna do it one more time for good measure.
All right, it's clear.
All right, Yoshi's Crafted World. Yoshi's Crafted World. Over under 3 million copies. Steve or Kevin?
Over.
I'm going under on that one.
Over, Steve?
Over, locking in.
Locked. Kevin under.
Under, possibly locking in.
Well, we're locking it in. 3.35 million copies. So just basically barely went over. All right, we got a couple more. Let's go through them. Let's clear that board. Blue Dragon. The Xbox 360 Akira Toriyama classic, if you will. Blue Dragon. How much did Blue Dragon sell worldwide, Steve? Over or under 3 million copies?
Under 3 million copies, locking in.
Okay, Kevin?
I'm going over for that one.
Over? All right, we're locking it in. Blue Dragon sold 920K worldwide. So,
oh, jeez.
Yeah, I was shocked. I was floored to see that. Right? It's like,
okay. It was a Japanese game exclusive to Xbox.
I mean, I thought it sold a lot. I thought it sold a lot more here, I guess is what I thought happened, but I guess not.
I thought there was like a fair amount of word of mouth.
Yeah, it shocked me.
And they were all trading the same discs to each other. I mean, what can you...
I did let Patrick borrow my Blue Dragon, now that you mention it. I did kind of pass around my copy to my
how
friends.
many people did he lend it
to? To at least 2 different people. So, yeah. So, okay, you got me. Fine. Let's forget about my sins of the past, clear the board, and we'll do one last one. WarioWare Smooth Moves, a game near and dear to all of our hearts. Did that game sell over or under 3 million copies? WarioWare Smooth Moves.
That had to have sold over.
Okay. Steve?
Yeah, over, locking in.
Okay, let's do it. Final answer.
Let's have, okay, just for funsies for the last one, Steve, what's your guess at what it sold?
Yeah.
Oh, maybe 4 million, just because of when it came out.
Okay. What's your guess?
I'm gonna say 5.5.
All right. We're gonna lock in those answers over and those numbers. All y'all are wrong. It sold 2.35 million copies.
Yeah.
So worldwide. So
that's what I know.
People are missing out.
Yeah. All right. That was fun.
That's
right?
a hard fucking game.
It's tough, right? We'll have to try it again with another number. Okay, if you want to do this again, what threshold should we do for sales? Like, should we go high? Like really high? Like
I think
15?
1 million.
1 million? Ooh, so we might get some like cult classics in there.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's a good one.
Let's do a bonus one. I didn't include this in the list because I couldn't verify its veracity for games that are really that old, but Chrono Trigger. By all accounts, I did find the numbers on Chrono Trigger. What do you guys think? Over under 3?
So we're not talking like PS1, DS,
Super Nintendo only.
Just Super Nintendo.
Oh. Yeah. I know what a bunch of landmarks say, but I'm going to say under.
Okay.
Yeah, I think I'm going to go under on that too.
It was under. The reported numbers were 2.5 mil. So, and I was honestly shocked it was that much. I didn't even think it was that much.
They didn't make that many copies. I had to get mine used.
They probably did gangbusters in Japan and like Europe, and here it probably didn't do too much. But like, also it was $80 goddamn dollars. I mean, like, look, I mean, what are you going to do? You can't really sell that many of them, right?
I know there's like a figure that went around that said it's the 20th best selling Super Nintendo game. Well, you might have been able to sell a few more if you printed some.
I don't think too many people are buying a Japanese RPG at that time with that kind of art at $80, but what do I know? Anyway, that concludes Fine Times Over Under Game.
What a great title for a game.
You can't talk over the game ending music. How dare you?
I just did.
Oh
bitch.
my god!
Man,
You didn't even clear the board when we were playing. Don't you start making up fucking rules about music.
This is almost as bad as when they said Octopath Traveler isn't the final title, and then they came back to us and said, guys, Octopath Traveler is in fact the final title.
No, they said Project Octopath Traveler.
Right.
Was not the final title. All right.
No lies were told.
I got one more thing I kind of wanted to throw out here, and it's a segment we do infrequently called Fuck, I Was Wrong, because we need to admit when we're wrong in the air. When we've really gotten something wrong, one of our opinions, and we change later. I think the first time we did this, Kevin admitted that he really liked Super Mario Galaxy because before he came on here and said it was not good or he didn't like it or whatever, and he's like, fuck, I was wrong. That game is fantastic, right? Steve, do you remember a previous Fuck, I Was Wrong of yours?
Oh, not offhand, but I had something.
Yeah, see, I can't remember yours, but I've definitely had my fair share of my own, and I definitely have one today, and I want to admit it to the people. A few big deals ago, I should say, we covered the remake of Mario vs. Donkey Kong. We loved it. We talked all about it. Ever since that game came out what? Donkey Kong 94 obviously came out in 94. Mario vs. Donkey Kong came out in 2004. It's 10 years later, different technology. You were using pre-renders. It was Game Boy Advance, etc., right? And I loved that game too at the time, and I loved the remake. And I always maintained that I liked Mario vs. Donkey Kong more than Mario 94. And motherfuck, I was wrong. I've been playing Donkey Kong 94 again on the Steam Deck via Game Boy emulation. I am such a dumbass. I don't know why I ever said that. Donkey Kong 94 is one of the best games of all time. What the hell was I thinking? That game is incredible. Why would I ever say Mario vs. Donkey Kong is better than it? And again, I love that game, and I loved it. I love the remake. I do. Donkey Kong 94 is on such a level. See, and that's what I want to stress here. It's not that I'm downgrading Mario vs. Donkey Kong. I'm elevating Donkey Kong 94. Everything in that game is so spot on perfect. Even like, I was thinking of Steve, as I often do in bed at night. And I was playing this game on the Steam Deck, and you know how like every cutscene in that game shows you how to play the game. Like, it's Mario it's chasing him off again. Oh, Donkey Kong's going to do another trick. Hey, guess what you're going to do in the next level? Not a big old text box to tell you what you do. Oh, we're showing through gameplay? Imagine that. I get they did that because of console limitations, but maybe we should just keep doing that. Not that, and look, I'm not as tutorial adverse as Steve is. I basically what I'm trying to say is Donkey Kong 94 is so clever in such a way that it's unparalleled. I hadn't really played the game much since it came out, and I probably should have. I should have never made a statement like that without playing it again. And now I'm playing it again, and I see I was wrong. It's pretty much the same way I came across to my wrong opinion of I used to think Mario World was better than Mario 3 until Wii Virtual Console happened, and then I played both again. I was like, what the fuck am I thinking? Mario 3 is like the best game of all time. Why did I ever think Mario World was better? Same kind of revelation. So fuck, I was wrong. I'm sorry, Donkey Kong 94, you're the GOAT.
I've played Donkey Kong 94 for like 20 minutes one time years ago. Maybe I should.
What is wrong with you, Kevin?
Yeah, you really.
And I mean, I was like, oh, this is pretty fun, and then I just never turned it on again. But it sounds like I'm missing out.
Yeah, you're missing out.
Yeah, Kevin, you're missing out.
Steve has see, this is supposed to be a judgment-free zone, but Steve has had the I told you so face on the whole time I've been talking. You just want to unleash it on me? You want to get out of your system?
No, because you don't want to hear what I was wrong about.
Oh, you have a fuck I was wrong as well?
Yeah, I do.
Okay, go for it.
Guys, I thought we were all on the same team with Balan Wonderworld. I figured, guys, this sucks. We're not going to no one's ever going to want to defend a game made by a guy who's committing, insider trading and is literally sitting in jail right now. But I'm going through Al Gore's internet on Twitter the other day, and I found 3 years ago today, Balan Wonderworld, one of the greatest, misunderstood games of all time, was released. And, oh boy, more people should give it a chance. Like, this is sarcasm, right? But no, I'm going through the thread, and I'm reading more people's opinions. Yeah, this game is actually pretty good. I love how there's only one action button for everything. And I'm just going through, like, what happened here? What I thought we were all on the same team with this. I thought we were all in agreement that this is awful, and I have no idea why I'm bringing this up right now in particular. Nope. Not at all.
Look, okay, I have a few things to say about this. One, I get that you may have lost too many bets on Place Your Bets, and you may be doing something right now that you don't want to do. But number two, This is a segment, Fuck I Was Wrong, is supposed to admit our personal failings, not you arguing with people on the internet about something. You're supposed to admit something you were wrong about.
Maybe he's foreshadowing, though, that when he reviews Balan Wonderworld for us, that he's like, actually, guys, it's pretty good.
I will heavily debate whether to air such a segment on Fine Time. I don't know if we can air such
you
bad
and I have
things.
just played the demo. We haven't played the whole game. So
oh my God.
That would make Steve the de facto expert.
Steve has not actually played the game yet, but
we haven't played the game, but we have. You know what I mean? Like we have.
Steve is waiting to formally lose the bet before he plays the Balan Wonderworld game.
Kevin, make me feel better. Admit one of your personal failings.
I actually,
here.
and this isn't deeply salacious. Fuck, I was wrong, but I was wrong about something. I loved Wind Waker when it came out, but I've definitely been one of those people that would say, yeah, the Triforce chart hunt at the end was definitely a low point and drug the game down. I recently replayed Wind Waker roughly about a month ago. You know what? If you okay, so the way I played that, and I didn't go out of my way to not explore throughout the game, but I certainly didn't like cover off the whole map. When I waited and I did that part of the game at the end when I was getting the charts, and I needed to load up on rupees to get my get my maps deciphered. And it felt very natural. It really didn't bog the game down at all. Anytime I would be defending why I still do think Twilight Princess is a better game than Wind Waker, I probably would have referred to it being a slog at the end, but I retract that. I was wrong about that, and I think people love to harp on the end of Wind Waker for that reason, and I think they're wrong too.
Yeah, and I've said that when we've talked about Wind Waker here and there, I've never minded that part. I was so surprised people complained about that. Now, I'm sure this is written to Nintendo lore. Everyone knows this. From the original Japanese version of Wind Waker, they did tone down the Triforce stuff for us. So it's already different for our version in North America. I don't know exactly the differences now in the Japanese version, but it was more arduous. I don't know if there's more pieces or what. But for our version, they actually streamlined it a bit. And now I think from what I understand on like Wind Waker HD, maybe you guys can tell me they even further.
Yes, they did streamline it a bit further, but honestly, I didn't mind going treasure hunting either. I was doing it the whole time anyway, getting my charts, looking for the spots, and sending my crane down to get the It was fun.
Yeah,
we were going on a treasure hunt in the big ocean. What's wrong with you people?
Exactly. I've never minded that part. So when people said that about the game, I was like, I don't understand.
Take that long either, really. I think I let the public's opinion like drag me down as well.
Yeah, and again, I always thought it was a weird opinion, and I never felt that way. And like I said, I had so many like charts, and I was doing that stuff anyway. It wasn't that big a deal.
I will say after Wind Waker HD, having to manually change the direction of the wind every time was a bit of a pain in the dick. It's certainly not a deal breaker, but that was a good change in Wind Waker HD.
Oh, so what does it do in Wind Waker HD? You just kind of like...
You get
if I remember right, you can like after the fact get like the magic sail where you can just fucking have wind behind you all the time.
You get a super sail in whatever direction you're facing. That's the wind.
Oh, I mean... That probably should have just been in the game to begin with, I get that they want to make the player do that somewhat, change the direction of the wind. You're using the thing to do the thing, right? I get it, but at some point you'd be like, okay, they did that enough. Here's the sail, right? So I'm glad Wind Waker HD realized that. All right, I think we can get out of here. We're leaving. Look in the description of this podcast to find all of our names on social media, and we'll see you next time. Bye.
We'll catch you next time. This has been Fine Time.